Hey, I'm Derby Todd, and we have just finished tracking bass and drums for the latest Devin Townsend album, The Moth, which is a crazy piece of work. It's going to be absolutely amazing when it's done, with orchestras and all sorts of stuff going on. And we thought that we would do a quick gear rundown of my drums, the studio that you can see here, because who doesn't like to look at equipment? It's far more exciting than the actual playing. So, yeah, Top Floor Studios, Sweden. It's gone great. Let's look at the drums first, because everyone loves those.
Sorry.
Jacob, the owner from Top Floor Studios.
Hello.
So this is the room where we've been tracking everything. It's my drum kit, and the sound in this room is really good. It's got really high ceilings, which, even though it's not the widest of rooms, it just sounds phenomenal. And as well, for this project, allows us to kind of really control the sound, which has been good. So starting with the gear, I'm not going to talk about the brand of drums because I play and endorse a company called British Drum Company, and these are not those, but I will talk about the sizes and stuff. So for this kit, we've been using a 10x7 rack, a 12x7.5, I think, 14 by 14, 16 by 16, 22-inch kick drum, which we also have a Yamaha sub kick on this, which I will get Jake, the guy that's engineered all of this, to explain more in a bit. Cymbal wise, actually before I get to cymbals, snare drums I will talk about, because I think regardless of what brand of drums that you play, quite often in studios, like you're always going to try different snare drums. We've used a couple of drums on this album. In fact, I'll start over here. We've got an old pearl copper snare drum down here, which sounded really good. Just really worked for the music that we were doing. And in fact, if you have a look up on the ceiling here, you can see we had a hell of a lot of snare drums to choose from, and behind you, Ben, as well. So out of all these drums, these were the two that made it on the record. So the pearl copper free floating, and then the one that I've got here that we've used quite a lot on this record is an English company called Hive. And I like this drum because it was solid aluminium with solid brass lugs, and this thing just really sounded good. So between this and the pearl one over there, I think we've got some really good snare tones. Drum head wise, we have got Evans. I'm an Evans player, and I just think those heads sound the best out of all the heads on the market. For this session, we've gone with EC2S's. They just had good resonance, but the little ring on them gives them a little bit of extra control, which, again, for the music we're doing here, sounds perfect. Snare drum wise, in fact, this is not my normal go-to snare head. We've used Evans HD Dries, which, again, the holes in the heads just take a little bit of an edge off the ring and really control the drum, and that worked really well. Kick wise, we've just got a Evans EMAD, which if I move this here, you might be able to see. And we've used the thicker of the two dampening rings in there, and it really has given it a good sound. In fact, the whole this is really detuned, this one. So yeah, all sounds really good. Cymbal wise, starting over here, everyone needs a stack, and to me, I think this is one of the original stacks that was ever a thing before stacks, and this is a really old set of Zildjian trash hats. These things are really cool. Quite often you would see them, oh God, I've got the longest thread. You'd see them set up like this, so it'd be like that. I think these were discontinued about 15 years ago, but they're, for me, they sound better than any stack going. I love these things. 18-inch Oriental Zildjian China. That thing it's got great punctuation, sounds really good. Cymbal wise, crash cymbal wise, I'm all about regular A's. I just think these things all their cymbals sound great, but for me, these just sound like really natural, honest cymbals. You know, it's like the old school original cymbal. They're really cool. So we've got an 18 here, we've got a 19 here, and we've got an 18 over here, and these are all medium thins as well. Actually, no, they're not. This one's a thin crash, but and so is this. I'm talking rubbish. 2 thin crashes, 1 medium thin crash. I do like the medium thins a lot, though. I think they're normally the ones I go to, but these 2 cymbals just work best for this project. Hi-hat wise, I've got a set of 15-inch Zildjian K sweet hats. These things, I absolutely love them. They're powerful, they've got really good dynamics, quite dark, very dark, but they work really good. I've got another set of hats over here, which for the stuff, come on in, it's getting a bit cramped here. I've got another set of hats here. These are just A customs. I tend to use these if there's some double bass drum work, or if we've got some kind of two-handed hi-hat parts, because we're, you know, pretending to be really cool by playing 2 hats at the same time. And then I've got a Zildjian K splash over here, which doesn't get used much, but it's just nice to have it should it need to be used. Ride cymbal wise, currently we've got a 23-inch A Zildjian Sweet Ride, and I love that, but that wasn't actually the main ride cymbal for the session. This has been my go-to ride cymbal for about 20 years now. As you can see, it's definitely seen better days. This is a custom medium ride 20-inch. This just sounds really good, and in fact we sampled this ride for a tune track sample pack, the big stage pack, so you can get this one in there. Pedal wise, I'm currently using a Tama Dynasonic. Really like this pedal. It's the direct drive pedal. If you saw my rig rundown when I did the Devin Townsends shows in LA, I was using this as well then. I'm still enjoying it. It's one of the few direct drive pedals that still kind of feels like a chain drive. So I'm enjoying playing that at the moment, but I'm always on the search to see if I can find something that I like more. But currently this is my pedal of choice. Oh, and over here we've got a 24-inch bass drum that we used as a gong drum. Just sounds evil, that thing, and that's actually been used a lot during this session. And if anyone's interested on how we mounted this, we have just a couple of little DW adapters that people would normally use. Oh, whoops! People would normally use for like mounting a cowbell or something off their bass drum. But we found if we put them on there and put regular floor tom legs in, you've got a gong drum. So if anyone's got a spare bass drum at home and they don't have a gong drum, that's a great way of doing it. Final thing gear-wise, actually, I want to show you. If you want to come around here, Ben. I've got my Porter and Davies drum stool, and I love this thing. It's kind of life-changing for me. So this receives a signal from the desk of my kick drum, and then sends it into my drum stool, which vibrates, and it's kind of like the bone conductivity thing. So it just helps you feel the bass drum a bit more, especially as we all record on in-ears. So we're kind of isolated from the rest of the world. So cannot recommend these enough either. Also, I'll get other people to do rundowns of the mics and stuff, but this mic here, this is just a little talkback mic for me. So when we're tracking, they can hear what I'm saying. So Jake's in there in the other room, we can talk backwards and forwards. And then this thing here, we've got Navium here, and this is where I plug my in-ears in, so I'm able to make my own mix of what we're listening to. So for instance, I've got my main drums, so I can hear my drums. Drums Extra is another channel of my drums, but I think it's been a bit compressed and a bit sort of affected, so that if I want a bit more extra, punch in my ears to kind of make me a bit more excited, I can. Talkback, that's just so talkback levels. Demo drums, this is interesting. So the tracks that Devin gave me before we recorded this record, he had demo drums programmed, which are just a rough intention of what he's looking for. So they weren't definitive drum parts, but just to help me get an idea of what he wanted. So occasionally while we're tracking, if we want to refer to the demo drums and see what was there, we can press that. Music, that's just listening back to the music. I can't even read what these ones say. Oh, it's the bass player. Yeah. How could I forget the bass player? So a lot of this album, James Leach, the bass player with Devin, we actually tracked bass and drums together. So that was nice. So that allowed me to hear him. Dev, that's so I could hear Dev. And then click track, everyone's favorite thing, so I could hear the click. So that's the drum kit, and probably done this backwards. This is the room. Oh, also, this is my little station over here. So I've got a bunch of my ProMark sticks. I'm a big fan of the ProMark 5As. So yeah, the Rebound 5As are the ones that I think sound, well, not sound, make me play the best. I think I can play a bit faster with the way that stick's weighted. So we have them, and then always have a couple of extra snare wires just in case you need them, because these things do go past their sell-by date, and I think it's important to change them more often than drummers do. So aside from that, that's my gear. This is the studio. Here's some mics. Also, you can see at the back of the studio, Jakob, the guy that owns this place, has a collection of stuff. So you're never short of a drum kit should you want to swap something out and change something out. One more thing I'm going to mention, and Jake will say this in more detail when he talks about the mics. These Roswell mics up here are my personal overheads from my studio back at home, and I absolutely love these things. They sound so good. I had a set of much more expensive overhead mics by another company before I got these, and these absolutely blow them out the water. So these are called Mini K87s. Really warm, smooth overall picture of the kit, and plus they made them for me in orange, which is my favorite color, so can't go wrong with that. So that's the kit. I'm going to get Jake to show you the microphones. Okay, part two of my little rundown of the Devin Townsends record here in Gothenburg, Sweden. This is Jakob Herrmann, who owns Top Floor Studios here, and Jakob is a phenomenal engineer. We've worked on so many projects together, and do you want to tell us about the mics we've used?
Sure.
Because you know about this stuff a bit better than I do.
Sure.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, we recorded, I think, 31 channels for this, and 29 was drums, and then we did bass channels, and yeah, it's been a lot of channels to keep track on. Basically, in the mic we have Sennheiser, the whatever it's called, the flat one. Yeah, the little flat mic. I forget what it's called actually. It's the same as the Shure Beta 91, but it looks better. And it's mounted with one of those Kelly shoe, like basically it's suspended inside the drum, but instead of being on the bottom, it's suspended on the top, pointing down, which is, apparently they've never done that, and it sounds great. Less rejection, less bleed. This guy here is my MyLab BDM-01, and that's positioned right next to the other mic. So basically it's two mics with different sounds, but you know, face correct and at the same placement. Man, I'm tired today. Outside here we have the Yamaha Sub Kick, which is just for extra oomph, extra everything in the low end. Fantastic mic. It's a speaker cone turned into a microphone and put inside a nice little box, little drum-like box by Yamaha. Over here we have, well, I'll just sit down here on the comfy chair. We have a Shure Beta 57 on top, and we have a Shure SM57 on the bottom of the snares. Snares we've used too. Man, I love the snare. We also have the MyLab VM44s on all the toms and the gong, which are my go-to tom mics. They're so crisp and clean and fucking brilliant. Then after that, we've just close mic'd every drum, or sorry, every cymbal, because I want to have that control in the mix later. So that's another VM44 on the stack. That's a Audio Technica ATM 450. It's side addressed, so it's actually pointing that way. Here's a AKG 451 on the hats, both of them, and the same thing with the ride, but it's under the ride, pointing up like between the bell and when Darby's playing around here.
I'm always amazed when you mic up the ride cymbals from underneath. It sounds great. In my studio at home, if I mic it from underneath, I just get all these awful wash and overtones and resonance, and it doesn't work. So I get a good sound on top, but you absolutely nail it from under there.
Well,
Why is that?
If you look at the angle of this mic, it's not. If you would point the mic like this, you only mic a little part of the ride.
Right.
But when you point it like this, you get the bell. You get a bigger surface basically that you're miking. It's the same. It's the same reason why on the stack and the China, the mics are actually pointing across the cymbals, both from under and over, instead of just pointing down.
Okay.
Then you get a better, like less of that ringy overtone thing that I don't like.
Cool. Really quickly, can you show us what you did on the floor tom? I'm just going to get the ride out of the way.
Oh yeah.
This kind of ghetto together.
Super ghetto. So this is a vocal pop shield that I duct taped a piece of what do you call it?
What, gaffer tape?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Like a cloth.
Yeah. So basically, just folded it 4 times and duct taped it to this thing just to prevent some of the bleed from the ride. It looks super ghetto, but it really works. On the crashes, same thing. No, sorry, that's the ATM 450 Audio-Technica. But this time they are pointing straight down, because then you get basically from all around the crash, and if treated correctly with EQ, these sound like you can basically, with all these close mics, you can build your own overhead sound and then combine that with the Roswells for the overhead, and these are like measured both in relation to the snare but also to the crashes, so the distance from this mic to this crash and this mic to these crashes are identical, and the distance from these two to the snare is identical as well. And these mic blew me away. Like I think it's the second time we used them.
Yeah.
And but when you brought them first, they were in another color, but you got your orange.
Yeah.
It's fun. No, I love these. They're so smooth. And usually I use those ones, my MyLab DC96C. But since we use the Roswells for overhead, I decided to put the MyLabs up there. So we have 3 pairs of room mics, which is both so you can have different sounds for different mixes and different songs, but also to use in the Dolby Atmos mix. So we have those up there, pointing to the sides. Then behind here, behind the gobos, we have another pair of Roswells. These are mine though, they're green. That's all you need to know. They're a prototype they haven't released yet, but they sound absolutely fantastic. And then we have behind the screen here an XY setup, and the screen is to take away a bit of high-end, and these are to reinforce the natural sound of the kit, basically. I think that's basically all of the drum mic whatever things. And these go into my SSL console in the control room, in here.
Let's go look at the console. After you.
Oh, look at your Huel. Don't forget to eat your Huel. Product placement.
Yeah, they need to send me 10 packs of that stuff for free now.
Yeah, this is the control room. Outboards there. Big ass console here. This is Larry. He's been our mascot this whole recording session.
And what's the console?
It's a SSL 6000G. It's 48 channels of pure analog love. We also have the Genelecs in the back and the Focals in front. And it may look weird that one is blocking the other, but that's why we have this little button here, so we can just get these out of the way. And if we want to use the Genelecs.
What was really interesting about that was I was here when they were tracking bass the other night, and they actually found that by lowering the speakers like 2 inches, absolutely changed the sound of the bass, and just made it a lot more pleasing.
Yeah,
so
it was kind of interesting.
It's interesting depending on what you're recording in here. Just a slight change in height of speakers can make a real difference.
Just for when recording, it can be kind of nice to not have all. And instead of like I don't know, sitting with an EQ and trying to balance it. It's like if you just want a little less of something, that was a great trick. I've never done that before, but yeah.
So out of interest, in terms of treating my drums, what have you? Has there been a lot of stuff done on the console?
It has, or there has. This is I'm using. It's not gating. It's both a gate and expander, but I don't use gates when I track. But it's a slight expander on two of the kick mics. There's compression on all the kicks, snare top, and snare bottom, and then we have EQ used on all the tracks. Over here you can also see that I have some dynamics going on the room mics, and it continues over here all the way up to channel 31 or something. Yeah, I use this console like not just for preamps, but when recording. Just EQ and dynamics on this thing is legendary for a reason. Yeah, it's a good tool for sure. For once, I didn't use any outboards. All the drum sounds are actually through the console. So for once, I didn't use any outboard preamps or compressors or EQ or whatever. I feel the sound called for what's in here this time.
It sounds really good.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Such a good drum sound.
So out of interest, how in terms of setting up all those mics, because if you look through the window from here, Ben, it's kind of it's quite a full-on mic setup in terms of stuff. How difficult was it to make sure the phase was correct, and did that take a long time to sort out?
It does take a long time, but it's not difficult if you're systematic about it. And
yeah.
I mean, you have to. I do that for every session, like measuring and making. You can't just like throw up a mic and think like, oh, I'm using the same mic as that guy. It's about placement.
But a lot of people do, don't they?
Oh yeah.
And I think the thing when it comes to recording drums, like anyone can record drums, and you can get all right results. But if you spend those extra, minutes thinking about mic placement and distances and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you also have to, also have to practice so you know what you're doing and do it many times until you can. Since I'm also the drum tech on every session I do, it's this combination of tuning and miking and placement and the EQing, but I don't have to run back and forth anymore because I did that 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's more like I know what I'm going for.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course. I mean, when setting the sound, for instance, we spent like 5 minutes just checking the phase correlation between the overheads and the close mics, and just that little trick in itself can save you so much grief when it comes to the mixing later.
Yeah. Cool.
That's it.
Well, cool. Thanks for that. Yeah, it never gets boring looking at this stuff.
I know.
Like, never gets boring at all. This is Ben, also known as.
I'm the human Swiss Army knife.
No, I was going to say, my name is Ben.
Yeah, my name is Ben.
That's been the joke of the whole session, the Primus song, My Name is Ben. So, Ben, tell us what you have been doing on the session here.
So my main role is Swiss Army knife. I could be writing a part. I could be engineering. I could be teching. I could be making a song chart. You never know what the day may hold. So, yeah, my main job is to kind of, lurk in the background. And if you don't know what I'm doing, then I'm doing my job. If you haven't seen one of these before, this acts as a roadmap to getting a record done. If you don't have one of these, it's often you can get lost on a road taking you somewhere you don't want to go. As you can see, there are a couple steps to making a record. Generally, there'll be a tracking phase, there'll be an editing phase to make sure things sound good. And by the time you work through all these steps, all these parts, you find yourself at the mix, and this is the happy time where we know we have completed our objective. So, I haven't done a count here, but there's approximately 120-ish of these little squares, and each one of these squares represents quite a bit of work. So as you can see, this week we've been chunking through all the drums and all the bass. From here, Dev and I will return back to Canada, and we will track guitars, we'll track synths, and come the live performance in the spring of the Moth, we will track the orchestra, the choir. We'll go home, finish up the vocals, and not too long after this step, the mix, you'll be able to listen to what we've done.
Most important question: who's done the best drawings at the end of the session, myself or James?
Oh, there's only one answer to that, and you guys know what it is.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say it out loud, though.
We've both lost at the world of art.
Yeah, but this is how it's done. We set ourselves a bunch of goals. We make sure that we don't miss anything because the days are long. An average day for us is 15, 16 plus hours, and once you start get into sort of day 6, day 7, day 8 of long days like that, things get a little fuzzy. So something like this helps us make sure that we are meeting our objectives, and we have met our objectives this week, and we will continue. Thanks for watching.
Wicked.